The following are true scary stories from the subreddit Let's Not Meet. I'll have a link in the description below. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and make sure to subscribe for more. Let's begin. This happened to me back in 2007. I was 9 years old and my brother was 14. My mom had sent us out of the house with about $30 to go to a movie and maybe get a bite to eat afterwards. After watching the movie, it was getting pretty dark and I was ready to go home. But my brother, he wanted to get something to eat first, and we agreed to walk to McDonald's, which was only a couple blocks from the movie theater. On our way there, we were stopped and approached by a man. He had a friendly smile plastered to his face, and he was holding his child's hand. There didn't seem to be anything off about this man. He was average looking, and seemed to be nothing more than a father having a day out with his son. "Hey, do you two think you can give my son and I a hand real quick?" he asked. "We need help loading a mattress into the back of our truck. This truck is just up the road." "Sorry, but we don't really have the time," my brother said. It was at this time I noticed the little boy. He was about 8 years old, and he looked abnormally thin. He had a blank expression on his face, and wore clothes that were much too big for him. I turned my attention back to the man, who was now mumbling to my brother about how it would only take a second. My brother kindly declined again, but being the helpful kid I was, I joined in with the man and tried to persuade my brother that we should help him out. I turned to my brother, who was now staring down at the little boy. My brother had a disturbed expression on his face as he looked down at the child. The child stared back at my brother blankly. I didn't understand why my brother had that look on his face. He grabbed my hand and said, "I think that's our mom over there." He pulled me, and we began walking away from the man. I didn't understand what was going on, and why my brother had just lied about our mom being there. He didn't let go of my hand and practically dragged me until we were a far distance away from the man and his son. I looked back and could still see the man holding his son's hand, only now he wasn't smiling anymore. He had a look of fury on his face, and he yanked the little boy by the arm and they walked away. I pulled away from my brother's grasp and bombarded him with questions. He shushed me and pulled the cell phone out of his pocket. He dialed in a number and began pacing around nervously while talking on the phone. I remember the police showing up, and my mom came soon after. She took me home, but my brother was left with the police. I asked my mother what was going on, and she said that the police were questioning my brother because the man we encountered was dangerous. That's all she told me, and I went to bed. By the next morning, I had almost completely forgotten about the incident, and things went back to being normal. It wasn't until a few days ago that these memories flooded back onto my mind. I decided to call my now 22-year-old brother to get some answers. When I brought the ordeal back up to him, he finally gave me the information I wanted to know. And now that I know everything, I understand how fucking terrifying our encounter with the man truly was. My brother told me that while the man was constantly trying to convince us to come with him, he happened to look down at the little boy. The little boy then looked at my brother with his eyes filled with terror and mouthed the word, "I'm not his son, please help me." Then his expression went back to being completely blank, almost as if he never said anything at all. This was why he had become so freaked out and snatched me away. When he called the police, they hurried down and he described the man the best he could. They couldn't do much with the little information my brother had given because we hadn't even seen the car the man supposedly had. My brother told me that a few weeks into the investigation, they had found the little boy who was with the man dead. His body was cruelly dumped in the woods. The cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration. If my brother and I had gone with this sicko, we likely would have met the same fate. He obviously couldn't have kidnapped both of us on his own, as my brother was a fairly strong fellow. That meant he had to have had other pedophile partners who would help him snatch up unsuspecting kids. Unfortunately, they were never able to catch any of the sick fucks who did this to the child. But the man was definitely not his father. His real parents had already been searching for their missing son for about a month. The pedophile or pedophiles had managed to kidnap the poor kid and use him as their puppet and try to kidnap other children. Every time I think about the boy, I feel a deep pity for him. He was only a year younger than I was at the time, and I can only imagine how terrible it must be to slowly starve to death. And to the disgusting bastard who starves and murders children, you'd better hope we never meet again. I used to be a Girl Scout. From kindergarten to the 7th grade, I'm now a freshman in college. I was one of the girls who worked the booth sales, like you see in front of the grocery stores. My mom was the leader of our troop, and at the time we had about 3 or 4 girls with us that day. The parents scheduled to come in later and help wasn't there yet, just my mom and us girls. At one booth sale in front of Walmart on a Saturday, my mother had ran out of small bills to make change. I was a Girl Scout before you could swipe your card on an iPhone attachment. We had to make change, and needed to run to an ATM at the other end of the store. There was one only at the other entrance where the vending machines and stuff are, to get change. She didn't want to leave us, but we promised to stand further out so she could see us from the door if anything happened and needed her attention. Now, we ranged in age 6 to 9 and were having a lull in cookie sales for the day, so we were bored and not paying attention, as little girls do. We were goofing off away from the table, running back and forth from one end of the doors to the other, fucking around. No sales made. We didn't talk to anyone. No one approached us. My mother had gone for less than 5 minutes to the ATM on the other side of the store. When my mom got back, she screamed. Sitting on the table was a picture of me that someone had taken from an old Polaroid camera. Yeah, it was like 2006, but a Polaroid? Really? It was a picture of me with a piece of paper wrapped around it, and an old receipt, I think, that said, "She's beautiful. You're welcome." She never left us alone again. I don't know why me of 3 or 4 girls there, and I don't know why none of us were paying attention and didn't see someone leave that on the table. It's creeped me out ever since. Creepy guy in Walmart parking lot taking pictures of little girls? That's not me. I hope you enjoyed these stories, and if you did, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And before I leave, I'd like to give a special thank you to all of you. The support I've been getting lately has been amazing. I love all the feedback as well, and it keeps me motivated to keep these stories coming for you. So once again, remember, it's always scarier if it's true.